What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Football Last Call, Week 6 edition. I'm your host, Don Clemons. Here with me, as always, as he is every Sunday, is Mike LaPlant. What's up, fella?
Not much. Bang, bang. Getting sick of you.
Come on, you don't need that. It's an exciting day of football, man.
Maybe for you, my fantasy teams, the main one for me plummeted. Everything else did pretty good.
Yeah, my main team wasn't very great because of Kyler Murray, but we'll get to that later. Let's just jump right into things like we always like to do for this. But before we do, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel if you don't already. Our first game we got on the docket, Mike, is the pretty much the upset of the first set of games here. Atlanta beats San Francisco 28-14. The 49ers offensively put up decent numbers besides the backfield in this one, which was a little weird. Garoppolo had 18.9 fantasy points, but the killer was Jeff Wilson, man, only getting 7 attempts for 25 yards. They just got down right away in this game, which you didn't expect. It was a total mind blow. But you had the pass catch. Yeah. You had the pass catchers in this offense do well, though. You had George Kittle, 16.3 PPR points, saw 10 targets. Ayuk caught 2 touchdowns. He also saw 11 targets and 28.3 fantasy points. And Debo had a good day, too, with 16 PPR points. Mike, does this give you more confidence in George Kittle being able to plug him in as your tight end one weekly now after what you saw today?
Yes and no. Because we said it, this morning on the start set that this was the best week for George Kittle. And lo and behold, we were right. Now, granted, I will take my knocks. I was wrong about the San Francisco 49ers being up in this game the whole time because that did not turn out to be the case. They imploded. But, it's nice seeing those 10 targets for George Kittle, 10 plus targets for all their guys, Kittle, Ayuk, and Samuel. But I really don't expect the Niners to be down like that every single week. This week was one of those any given Sundays.
Yep, for sure. And then it played it played right into the Falcons specialty, man. They only threw the ball 14 times today. Mariota was 13 of 14 with 2 touchdowns, and he also had 50 yards and a touchdown on the ground. So he had a good day, 24 fantasy points. But the backfield, man, between Caleb Huntley and Tyler Algier was pretty much split. Huntley had 16 attempts. Algier had 15, 59 and 51 yards. So that was decent to see. The only thing really to take away from the pass catchers, guys, Kyle Pitts, second career touchdown. He finally found an end zone.
First on U.S. soil.
This is the fact. You're right. But he only saw 3 targets, guys, but there just wasn't a ton of volume to go around because they were leading this game so much. But Mike, are either of the guys in this backfield relevant in fantasy purposes, or are they just kind of both grinders and touchdown dependent?
They're touchdown dependent and they're grinders because they're also game script dependent. They're not going to get many games where they're up like this, and they had the prime opportunity, and they didn't even do that well. It was Marcus Mariota scavenging the touchdown from them.
Yeah, yep.
So, I really can't see a whole lot of value to this backfield moving forward, unfortunately, unless Patterson, when Patterson gets back.
Mm-hmm. And I think he's eligible to come off IR in a couple of weeks. So,
yep, 4-week minimum when he got put on.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and take us to our next game.
Sure, and we had a thriller in the Bayou. It was a brawl. Joe Burrow coming back to play New Orleans Saints in his college championship winning days. And they ended up beating them 30-26. Joe Burrow having a great day, having 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 on the ground, only 25 rushing yards, but a total of 32.5 fantasy points. Mixon, not really a lot here. 8 attempts for 45 yards, only 5 targets, catching 4 of them. He also got a touchdown through the air, first of the year, coming to 16.8 fantasy points. But the big day was Jamar Chase getting 10 targets, catching 7 of them for 132, and getting 2 touchdowns here, 32.5 PPR, 32.2 PPR fantasy points. Man, T. Higgins got 10 targets still here, but he wasn't a decoy, Dylan. I want to know your thoughts moving forward on T.
I'm excited that he wasn't a decoy today, and he looked decently healthy. He played a lot of the snaps. I watched most of this game. But yeah, seeing 10 targets is great, even with the ankle injury. But man, oh man, Jamar Chase, you had to know they were going to go off going back to New Orleans, right?
New Orleans, hell yeah! This was the place they went off against Alabama. So
yeah, and the Saints. We talked about this on this live stream this morning that the Saints defense was banged up in this one, their secondary especially, and Chase
I
took
mean,
advantage of it today.
absolutely, and the secondary wasn't the only one banged up today because most of their pass catchers were also gone because Andy Dalton only passing for 162 yards and getting one touchdown here. 10.5 fantasy points. Whoop-de-doo. Alvin Kamara had an all right day here, pacing the team at targets, also leading the charge on the ground, 99 rushing yards. No touchdowns for him, though. He also, like I said, led the team in targets with 9, caught 6 of them for 25. Pedestrian day, but the volume kept him alive with 18.4 fantasy points. You got your daily dosage of Taysom Hill, 5 rushes for 39 yards. But, he was kind of kept in check, too, as well. And then really the only one to talk about in the passing game here was Traquan Smith catching all 3 of his targets for 43 yards and pulling down the 1 touchdown for 13.3 points.
Let's Alvin Kamara owners need to start a petition saying that Andy Dalton needs to be the starting quarterback for the Saints because he's checking the ball down to Kamara the last couple of games, man, and he's getting those targets that we like to see as Kamara owners,
Yeah, I mean, granted, if Andy Dalton would have had some starting wide receivers here, I think he might have pulled off the W here.
He might have, yeah. And there was a report this morning saying that if Dalton had a good enough game that he would be the starter moving forward over a healthy Jameis. Do you think he did enough?
I don't think so because they lost the game.
I know. But I'm hoping for Dalton the rest of the year. What about you?
Man, I kind of like Winston just because of the air yards. But Kamara is nice. I mean, hopefully Winston learns how to check it down. And that's part of the maturation process for QBs. So,
yep, for sure. But I'm gonna go ahead and take us into our next game. We had this might have been
another upset. Yeah.
The New York Giants taking down the Baltimore Ravens, who they blew another lead, if I'm not mistaken, right? But the Giants win 24-20. Lamar kind of had just a blah day, 210 yards through the air, 1 touchdown. He did throw an interception, added 77 on the ground. But Mike, this is weird. And hold on, let me go to the pass catchers and then we'll get to the weird backfield. Mark Andrews had a day, 7 receptions on 11 targets for 106, 1 touchdown. Unfortunately, my call did not work on Devin Duvernay today. Only 1 reception for 14 yards, so he was a bust. Sorry for everybody that I told to start. But, Mike, I want to talk to you about this backfield. Kenny Drake's seen 10 attempts, 119 yards, and a touchdown, and he looked fresh as could be. Yet J.K. Dobbins, 7 attempts for only 15 yards, and it was like he was seemingly benched. What are we doing with him moving forward?
So I got an update here that J.K. Dobbins at least reported from John Harbaugh that his knee tightened up in the second half, and that was for the reason of his limited usage and really the benching of him in the second half. Gotcha. So hopefully it's just, he can loosen up that knee and moving forward, it won't be a big deal. But if this is an issue moving forward, Dobbins is going to be hard to play.
Yeah, I agree.
Just like any other pass catcher besides Bateman and Andrews.
Not ideal, man. Jumping over to the Giants side of things, Danny Dimes having a decent day, 2 touchdowns through the air, 13.5 fantasy points, 173 yards. Didn't have to do a whole lot. Saquon on the ground, solid day again, 22 attempts, 83 yards, 1 touchdown, finishing with 18.5 fantasy points, catching 3 balls as well. Daniel Bellinger might sneaky tight end play here, maybe. Catching all 5 of his targets for 38 yards and a touchdown. And Wan'Dale Robinson, the rookie, playing for the first time since week 1 where he suffered a knee injury. He looked like him and Danny Jones kind of have some chemistry, Mike. I know he only had 4 targets, but he caught 3 of them for 37 yards, and the touchdown was a good throw and a pretty nasty route he put on the guy. I'm curious your thoughts on Wan'Dale moving forward, man.
You monitor it, you stash him on the bench, but I mean, you can't start any wide receiver from this offense. I was
gonna ask you, can he eventually move into that spot on your roster where you can comfortably put him in your flex, like as the number 1 Giants pass catcher?
Give him 1 more week of, at least scoring a touchdown to get 100 yards, and it's probably going to be a yes for me because they're looking for somebody.
Sure. Right on. You gonna take us into our next one, or I can
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
we
You
can
take
use.
us into our next one real quick.
Okay, we got the New York Jets, man, pulling another upset here over the Green Bay Packers, 27-10 in Lambeau Field. Zach Wilson not having to do much. He was 10 of 18 for 110 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions. It was Brees Hall on the ground, man. He's blowing up. He needs to be set in your lineup every single week, and don't even think twice about it. 20 attempts, 116 yards, and a touchdown. Um, and he also caught both of his targets, and he finished with 20 PPR fantasy points. So it was just an absolutely great day from him. Michael Carter also had a 41 yards in the ground as well, and he got stuffed at the goal line like 2 or 3 times towards the end of the game. But yeah, looking at the pass catchers, man, nothing really doing here. They didn't have to do a lot. Corey Davis caught a long pass from Zach Wilson. That was the biggest play. Elijah Moore didn't get targeted. I'd seen on Twitter that he's not very happy with his usage. He said he's not going to complain because he's not a selfish guy. And Mike, I saw this on Twitter as well, and this is what I want to ask you about. Garrett Wilson ran 13 routes today. I know they didn't pass a lot, but that's kind of shaky moving forward, right?
Absolutely,
Because
but he still got the most targets.
is he droppable?
No, he's not droppable because he still got the most targets. I mean, they're going to have to pass the ball eventually to somebody when they're down, and I guess they weren't going to be down against the Packers.
Yeah. Lost my train of thought. So we
could just move on to the
Yep.
move on to the Packers here, and I'll take the reins here from you because it was just abysmal all around. Aaron Rodgers, 246 yards, 1 touchdown, finishing it with 11.8 fantasy points. Yeah, I mean, can't get anything to go and through the air, through the ground. AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones both, combined 60 rushing yards, 41 for Dillon, 19 for Aaron Jones. And then through the air, I mean, Dillon got 6 targets, catching 4 of them for 11. Aaron had 4, catching 3 of them for 25. But the only one getting a touchdown here was Allen Lazard, catching 4 of his 9 targets for 76 yards and that touchdown for 17.6 fantasy points. Otherwise, it was just, all the way around. And I really didn't think this was possible from the Packers. But moving forward, man, this is red alert.
Yeah, their offense is not firing on all cylinders right now, man. They can't really get the running game going, and they definitely couldn't do it today.
I don't think a relaxed tweet from Rodgers is going to do it this time.
No, I don't think so either. But Allen Lazard, it's good to see. He seems to be able to get a touchdown every week, and he seems to be the only guy really who Aaron Rodgers trusts besides Robert Tonyan, who that was probably a career high in targets, I'm going to assume, with 12, man. And 90
Possibly,
yards.
yeah.
And he's a streaming candidate moving forward at the bad tight end position.
19 PPR points. I mean, man, I just don't know if 12 targets is going to be the consistent week in and week out thing for him.
Sure. Yeah, no, I hear you there. But go ahead and we'll move on to the next game here. We got another upset. So I guess what I said earlier to start the show about the biggest upset being earlier, I lied. This was the biggest one. I'm such an idiot.
3 times, huh?
Yeah, 3 times. Pittsburgh Steelers upsetting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 20-18. It's a weird day, man. But we got Tom Brady here. Frustrating day for fantasy owners with him. 13.7 fantasy points. He's really let fantasy owners down this year, man, after such a good year last year. Leonard Fournette, 21 attempts, 63 yards, caught all 6 of his targets for 38 yards and a touchdown. So back-to-back really good weeks for him. He had 22 PPR points. And then Brady's pass catchers, Gaba caught 6 balls for 15.5 points. And Evans caught all 4 of his targets for 42 yards. A little bit of a disappointing day. Mike, I guess moving forward, this is really the only question that I got for you. Are you still confident in starting Brady weekly?
Man, it's teetering there because he doesn't bring any rushing floor whatsoever. So you're hoping on touchdowns and passing yards, and he struggled against a defense here. That really was depleted of everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confuzzled right now. But I just can't. I really can't see this being a week in, a week out. I mean, maybe it's just against these defenses. Maybe it was a cold weather thing in Pittsburgh. Maybe he's not used to. He got so used to the Tampa Bay weather that he wasn't used. I don't know, man, because I just think the thing is they got to get Mike Evans more involved here. A healthy target share for Chris Godwin getting 12. Fournette being involved here, but then Mike Evans just completely non-existent. I mean,
Yeah.
they're missing their trifecta for success. Mike Evans, Chris. Well, I mean, you can almost call it a square with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Fournette, and Brady. I mean,
Yeah.
all four of those guys really are churning on all cylinders when this team is successful.
And the offensive line has struggled all year, so maybe they're not able to hit Evans on those deep shots like we've gotten used to seeing.
Yep.
So, but jumping over the Steelers side of things, the quarterback was split, guys, because Kenny Pickett got injured. I think he went out with a concussion. I don't want to speculate, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah.
But Najee Harris, 14 attempts, 42 yards, and he did catch a touchdown through the air that saved his day, 12.9 PPR points. Big story on this offense, Mike, was Chase Claypool. Where did this come from? Catching all 7 of his targets for a touchdown and the game-winning touchdown for 23.4 PPR points. Huge day for him. But I want to ask you, are you smashing the panic button on Deontay Johnson? Only 5 catches for 28 yards here.
No, I mean, not yet. He's still got 7 targets. I mean, you still got to play him with getting 7 targets week in and week out. It's just, man, this ADOT is just dying.
Yeah.
Week after week. Only 28 yards on 5 receptions. That's abysmal. Claypool getting all the deeper targets. It seemed like when Mitch Trubisky came in, which, I mean, if Kenny Pickett's going to be out, I figure Deontay Johnson will get back involved next week. And really the biggest loser here is Pickens.
Yeah, agreed.
But we can move on to our next game here, which wasn't an upset at all, in my opinion, when you got a quarterback out. But the Minnesota Vikings went into Miami and beat the Dolphins 24-16. Kirk Cousins only throwing for 175 yards, but getting 2 touchdowns through the air, 14.5 fantasy points. Dalvin Cook really salvaged his day on one big run here, getting 13 attempts for 77 yards and a touchdown. It was a 53-yarder. He also got 1 target, catching it for 6 yards, 15.3 fantasy points. Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, stories of the day through the passing game, as always. Jefferson catching 6 of his 8 targets for 107 yards. Unfortunately, no touchdown, getting 16.7 fantasy points. And Adam Thielen getting that touchdown. 4 of his 8 targets, 36 yards, 13.6. And then Irv Smith here, catching all 4 of his targets for a whopping 7 yards, and that touchdown, getting 10.7 fantasy points. I mean, really, it's Jefferson, Thielen, and it's Cook. I mean, Irv Smith, yeah, he got the touchdown, but you can't bank on 7 yards, guys.
Yeah, and like you said, Cook was saved by that long run, but we had been talking about touchdown regression in a good way coming his way, and it has these last couple weeks.
Yeah, hopefully it continues.
Yep.
And then Shaq Thompson started the day for the Dolphins, but then he went out injured. I believe it was with a thumb injury, leaving Teddy Bridgewater to come in and finish the day, having 329 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, finishing with 20.2 fantasy points. Then Raheem Mostert on the ground led the day, 14 attempts for 49 yards. Really, that was it because he got 2 targets, catching one of them for -1 yards, 5.8 fantasy points. Then we had Tyreek Hill, man. He is becoming this consistent all around, week to week guy, getting 15 targets, catching 12 of them for 177 yards. No touchdowns, but man, that's good for 29.7 fantasy points.
15 damn targets, man.
Yeah, and with that speed, I mean, he's going to easily get a lot of yards. Oh, and we're watching the Sunday night game, and there goes Zeke for a touchdown. Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen that. But Jalen Waddle also getting 10 targets, catching 6 of them for 129 yards himself, getting 16.9 fantasy points, coming back to life. Goddamn, Jasicki caught another touchdown, and we had to watch that wonk-ass Gritty.
Got 2 of them.
But he decided not to do it the second time. Thank you.
Because they were losing, yeah. He was upset.
But he finished the day with 24.9 fantasy points. Man, maybe with Bridgewater moving forward, you can maybe stream Gesicki, but no, I just can't. When you got 15 and 10 going to Waddle and Tyreek Hill, I just can't see Gesicki getting 7 week in and week out.
Yeah, and they said it's 2 next week anyway, so I think we kind of toss it out. And Gesicki hadn't really been relevant with Tua, so I'm still not a fan. Just looking at it here, though, Mike, Chase Edmonds didn't even get a rush. Oh, he did get 2 attempts on the ground. He's droppable.
For 3 yards.
He's droppable. He's
got 2 targets.
Unless you have an open roster spot and you have Raheem Mostert and he can be your handcuff. That's all Chase Edmonds is a high-end handcuff. He's droppable, Mike.
I mean, if you got bye weeks coming up, man, and you're hit with injuries, I mean, it's a body to throw in there. There's not many running back bodies you can just throw in there. Like Mike Boone or Chase Edmonds. You know what I mean? Like somebody's gonna have to make that decision, type of deal. So that's why I said I don't know if he's droppable because running backs are so hard to come by that are actually going to get snaps and plays. Because I mean, look at Myles Gaskin. I mean, he was a healthy scratch.
I'd rather have Jermichael Hasty, who ran for a touchdown in this next game.
I'd rather not.
I'm kidding, man. This next game, the Colts beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 34-27. Starting here with the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence finished the day 20 of 22 for 163 and a touchdown. And he also had 2 touchdowns on the ground for 24.8 fantasy points. Mike, Travis Etienne, we're finally starting to see a little bit of a breakout from him. I know only 12.8 fantasy points, but he shot out of a cannon to start this game. 10 attempts, 86 yards on the ground. Caught both of his targets for 22 yards for 12.8 fantasy points. Back-to-back week with double-digit points. So he's. I just want to go back to Trevor.
I just want to go back to Trevor Lawrence just real quick because I saw this real cool tweet from Ryan Michael. He's at the Ryan Michael Twitter. Today, Trevor Lawrence became the first quarterback in NFL history to lose a football game with 20-plus passing attempts, 90% completion percentage, 3+ total touchdowns, and 0 turnovers. 103 years of football. This is the first time that's ever happened.
That's crazy. James Robinson, guys, had 12 attempts still, but only for 54 yards. He's just missing that big play that he was hitting earlier this year, so he's kind of been a bummer if you started him the last few weeks, unfortunately. Evan Ingram caught 5 of his 6 targets for 40 yards, tight end streamer weekly, and then Christian Kirk, Mike, his targets
salvaged.
His targets are starting to go down. He only saw 5 today, but like you said, he salvaged the touchdown, 4 receptions, 24 yards. Mike, are you worried about his usage moving forward, or you think he's just had a bad couple weeks?
I mean, yes and no. We just need a second passing option to emerge from this offense because it seems like defenses are not focusing on the number one option in this offense, and that's Christian Kirk. I mean, defenses are not stupid. We're not stupid. We can see it.
Yep.
So we need more consistent performances from either Evan Ingram, Zay Jones, or Travis Etienne in the passing game to give a little bit more opportunity for Kirk because he's just going to continue to get the majority of the attention.
Agreed. I'm jumping over to the Colts now. Matt Ryan, man, a huge day. 58 pass attempts, completing 42 of them, 389, 3 touchdowns, 27 fantasy points. I don't know where you'd be starting him outside of Superflex leagues, but man, oh man, if you did, he hit today. Maybe DFS.
Superflex for me.
Yeah. And then Jackson took over a running back with the injured Jonathan Taylor. I'm blanking on his first name. Deion Jackson, yep. 12 attempts, 42 yards and a touchdown. But man, Mike, he had 10 targets, catching all 10 of them for 79 yards as well.
Did leave with an injury.
He did.
Yeah, so unfortunate with that. But man, if you started him, what a day.
Yeah, hit PPR monster, 28 PPR points. You know who else was a PPR monster? It was Michael Pittman today, catching 13 of 16 targets for 134.
Believe it or not, still not more than Jackson,
PPR points. Right. Paris Campbell, 11 targets as well. There's just, you get a target. It's just all just going around today. He had 7 catches and a touchdown, 57 yards, 18 fantasy points. Alec Pierce caught 3 balls on 7 targets and the game-winning touchdown, which was nice. And Jelani Woods also caught a touchdown. Mike, It's hard really to take anything away from this game, right? Because of the abnormally large amount of passing attempts by Matt Ryan with
I
58
mean,
here.
yeah, from the start of the first quarter, I mean, Colts were down 7-0, then 14-0, and then it was just all right, throw the game plan out. We're tossing the ball around.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah,
mean, this one
agree.
was one of those, throw the game plan out, and we got to do what we got to do to try and win. And thankfully it worked out for him. But obviously, not having Jonathan Taylor played into this.
Yeah, and he should probably. I guess he was close to go this week, so he'll probably be back next week, and then Jackson will probably go back to being irrelevant.
Yeah, they were holding him up precautionary, because they probably didn't think they needed him for this game.
Yeah, right.
Who knew they did? So we'll move on to the next game we hear, which was just a blowout. The New England Patriots going to the Cleveland Browns, blowing them out 38-15. Bailey Zappi throwing him for 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 17.4 fantasy points. What a day for the Rook. But really, the story of the day was Ramondre Stevenson, 19 rushing attempts for 76 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Even getting a little bit of work through the air, 5 targets, catching 4 of them for 15 yards, finishing with 25.1 fantasy points. No one really on the ground we got to talk about, but Tyquan Thornton did get a rushing touchdown, but other than that, it was.
He also caught one through the air
I was
too,
just,
man.
I was gonna say, let me get through the air. It was Hunter Henry and Tyquan Thornton. I mean, Devontae Parker had the 6 targets, catching 4 of them for 64 yards, but Hunter Henry had the touchdown for 31 yards, getting 4 receptions, and then Tyquan Thornton had 5 targets, catching 4 of them for 37, getting 21.3 points. Man, I mean, I don't know who started Tyquan Thornton, but great day.
Yeah, nobody. He's probably still out everybody's taxi squad, man.
Or IR.
But yeah, the biggest takeaway for the Patriots, man, was Ramondre Stevenson. He's the RB1 moving forward if Damian Harris is out.
I don't even know if that's really a takeaway, because that was the whole speculation going into the day.
Yeah, for sure. He just proved everybody right. And one of his touchdowns was in garbage time, but you're going to have that. It's all part of it. You know what I mean?
That's the benefit of being a running back.
Yep, for sure. And the only one in the offense that they trusted, like Pierre Strong, wasn't getting any snaps. He was outsnapped by some other guy.
Probably got outsnapped by Tyquan Thornton. I haven't looked at it yet, though. Moving on to the Browns here. Jacoby Brissett, 266 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, only 10.6 fantasy points. Nick Chubb bottled up, only getting 56 yards on the ground, getting 2 targets, catching 1 of them for 14, only 8 fantasy points. Mari Cooper, 12 targets, catching 4 of them for 44, and that touchdown that they gave to him that they probably shouldn't have. I think they felt bad, but he finished with 14.4 fantasy points. It was Njoku and Donovan Peoples-Jones after Cooper getting 6 and 5. That was Njoku getting 6, Peoples getting 5. Njoku caught 3 for 58. Peoples caught 4 for 74. Peoples had 11.6 fantasy points, and Njoku had 8.8. But other than that, it was those 3, and not even Hunt, man. He was invisible today.
Yep. Yeah, Cleveland got down right away. They had to abandon the run. That's evident with Chubb only getting 12 attempts. And Bill Belichick just tried to take away their best player, man, and he did it again.
Yes, he did.
Now, going into our first afternoon game here, guys. What a weird offensive showing from Carolina. I've never seen so many sideways passes from a quarterback before. But the Rams won 24-10. It was just wide receiver.
It's called the Kyle Shanahan offense.
Wide receiver screen. PJ Walker, I don't even really need to mention him, but let's just start with Christian McCaffrey. 13 attempts, 69 yards, 8 targets, caught 7 of them for 89 yards, 22.8 PPR points. You were happy with him, but he's really the only person you were happy with. DJ Moore saw 7 targets, catching 3 of them for 7 yards, Mike. 7 yards. With this quarterback situation, he's sitting on your bench, and if you need to drop him because of bye weeks and stuff,
I think he's worth it.
Yeah. Jumping over the Rams offense, man, they played a little bit better today. Stafford, 12.8 fantasy points, still not a great showing from him. Darrell Henderson was solid. Finishing with 13 PPR points, 12 attempts on the ground for 43 yards. Yep. and a touchdown. Ben Skoranek also had a rushing attempt for 17 yards and a touchdown as well. Cooper Kupp did his thing, 7 receptions on 8 targets, 80 yards. And then Allen Robinson, fade route touchdown, Mike. He saw 6 targets as well, catching 5 of for 63 yards. Does this game give you any confidence in him moving forward?
Confidence to pick him up off the waiver wire, not to drop him, but not to start him. I don't know about that, man. I mean, this is 1 week. Give me one more week of Allen Robinson getting 6 targets, catching 5 of them. And if he can throw a touchdown in there, yeah, he's worth starting. But, man, I still got to see it to believe it because we've seen much more weeks of him doing bad.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, let's be honest, Skoranek has more yards on the season than him.
Yes, he does. He's probably better.
Oh, man. But that was a quick recap of that game. Move on into the next, bargain bin that was supposed to be of a game that was the Chiefs and and Bills gave us. But Seattle Seahawks
could be quick, too. This is going to be a quick recap as well.
Seattle winning 19-9. That has to be a scoregami thing or something. I don't know. But
yeah, very weird.
Yep. Geno Smith throwing for 197 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Yeah. 12.7 fantasy points because he also had 6 rushing attempts for 48 yards. But Kenneth Walker, just as we thought, 21 attempts, 97 yards, and a rushing touchdown here. Also getting 3 targets, catching 2 of them for 13 yards, finishing the day with 19 fantasy points. He was really the belle of the ball here because leading the pack in targets was Noah Fant, catching 6 of them for 45 yards, 10.5. I mean, it was brutal. DK Metcalf had 7 targets, only catching them for 2 of them for 34.
Yeah, gross.
5.5. Lockett had 5 targets, catching 2 of them for 17. It was that normal Lockett game we were all expecting. 3.7 points. I mean, other than that, I mean, it's Kenneth Walker, and this was one of those odd games where I really do expect Metcalf, Geno, and Lockett to bounce back. I think this is just one of those divisional games where they knew each other's plays, and it was just a gruddy, grimy, just do whatever it takes to win game.
Yep.
And considering Kyler Murray, I was going to say, considering Kyler Murray, rushed for 100 yards.
Right.
I mean, he also threw for 222 yards, but he no touchdowns, had an interception on the day, finishing 15.9 fantasy points. But yeah, I'm sure as you can guess it, Kyler Murray was the leading rusher, even though Eno Benjamin had 15 for 37.
Not an efficient day for me, no. A little bit disappointing.
Yep, only getting 3 targets, catching 3 of them for 28, finishing with 9.5 fantasy points. But really, it was the big 3 of Ertz, Brown, and Rondale Moore. Brown did go down late in this game.
Yeah.
Looked like a high ankle sprain. I believe I saw the initial reports that it was a negative on the x-ray, so it's not broken. But he did catch 5 of his 9 targets for 68 yards, 11.8 fantasy points. Zach Ertz led the day, catching 7 of his 10 targets, 70 yards. No touchdown, 14 fantasy points. And then Rondale Moore, 6 receptions on 10 targets for 49 yards, 10.9 fantasy points. Other than that, I mean, this game was Kyler Murray and, some PPR points. That's it.
Yeah, man. And this offense just couldn't get rolling. And when it did, Kyler, I don't know if you saw when Kyler had that big fumble on a long run.
Oh, yeah, that was brutal.
In the second half is just an absolute killer for that offense. Yeah.
The block punt, I believe they had. Didn't they have a black punt too?
Yep.
That was their only offensive touchdown.
Yes, they did.
That was their only touchdown. Was there a block punt today? Like I remember you saying in our Discord, like, when's Cliff Kingsbury going to get canned? Like, man, if this continues, pretty soon.
Let's just hope Marquise Brown is healthy, and I want to say DeAndre
Hopkins
comes
back
allowed
next week.
Okay. Maybe this offense breaks out, and it's they got a quick turnaround for Thursday night football.
I needed Hopkins. Thank you.
Yes, I think the whole everybody does. The Kyle Murray owners as well.
I think Kingsbury needs him more than all of us.
Yeah, come save my job, please. But our last game here, guys, that we're going to talk about, it saved the best for last. We got the Buffalo Bills beating the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead today, 24-20. Josh Allen, 329 yards, 3 touchdowns, 12 carries, 32 yards on the ground, 26.4 fantasy points. Great day for him. Devin Singletary also didn't disappoint, man. 17 attempts, 85 yards.
He ran good.
Yeah, he did. He had 4 catches as well for 22 yards, so he finished with 14.7 PPR points. Pass catchers, Diggs led this team 13 targets, 10 receptions, 1 touchdown. No surprise with his day, 148 yards, 30 PPR points. Gabe Dave, man, back-to-back weeks. His big play possibility is hitting.
Back-to-back weeks of 3 receptions. Woo!
Yeah, and he caught a long one again for 34 yards. He had 74 total and a touchdown. Dawson Knox
Man, so sketch, though. I mean, if he don't get that touchdown, he is a dud for you. That's my only comment.
That's what he does, Mike. That's what he does.
So he said more athletic Adam Thielen. Oh, God.
In a better offense and a great quarterback. Yep.
That's just what we need.
And then Dawson Knox caught a touchdown. But this offense was firing on all cylinders, man. Some silly stuff happened.
How dare you? Dawson Knox caught the game-winning touchdown.
He did. But you know who disappointed today was Isaiah McKenzie when he was running across the middle wide open in the end zone and just trips over his own feet. And the ball hits him in the hands as well.
Very disappointing day. Man? 5 targets, only catching 2 of them for 9 yards. Probably had. I mean, those 3 other ones were probably drops straight up.
Yeah, it was disappointing. Maybe we see some Khalif Shakir take some slot snaps away, man. But jumping over the Chiefs, solid day from Patrick Mahomes, 25 of 40, 338, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, weird one in the end zone early. And then he threw not a good ball, man. They got the ball with a chance to win with under 2 minutes to go, and Mahomes actually threw a pick, which was surprising. So not
Taron Johnson
that he wanted. Yep. Guys, CEH, every fantasy analyst in the business was saying that this was not sustainable, and it wasn't. He's not finding the end zone. He's not seeing the volume. Only 9 attempts for 33 yards. He's
not even a target.
Yep, not even a target. He's matchup dependent moving forward, man. And if he couldn't score in this one,
he's touchdown dependent, not matchup dependent. He's touchdown
dependent.
He's
both, Mike. He's both. Because if they can get out,
he's more touchdown dependent than he is matchup dependent because he's had 1 game where he's had 20 touches.
Sure.
I mean, but he's had 5 games where he's had touchdowns. So what the matchup gave him those 20 touches. But I mean, he is touchdown dependent.
Yep. But then the wide receivers and the pass catchers, Juju Smith-Schuster led the team in yards with 113, caught 5 of his targets and a touchdown for 22.3 PPR points. Solid day from him. That's got to give you confidence moving forward.
Yeah, first touchdown in a Chiefs uniform. Hallelujah.
Travis Kelce Travis Kelce did his thing, caught 8 of his 10 targets for 108 as well. And Mecole Hardman caught the other touchdown for 42 yards, 13 PPR points. I think the biggest takeaway was Juju finally breaking out, man, and having a huge day. Get a long touchdown.
And Clyde
broke a tackle. Yeah, and Clyde being super sketchy moving forward. But as
I do think the one other thing I was just saying, this is from the Bills side. I think Devin Singletary is the obvious back, moving forward here, besides Josh Allen.
Yep. 100%.
James Cook really not involved very much. And Zach Moss with a healthy scratch. Sorry, go on.
Nope. I'm just getting ready to take us out. As we're finishing recording, guys, it's a 20-10 ball game. Philadelphia is leading, but the Cowboys are driving. But that pretty much wraps it up. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Please subscribe to the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel. Check out all the content we got coming out this week and moving forward. Mike, anything to add?
Catch out all the content, moving forward, obviously Monday through Friday, and then go to fantasysixpack.net/plans if you want to join us in the Discord, join in on the fun, have unlimited questions. Cause I mean, you know how it is. We got our own lives. We got our own lineups we got to do. So we can't answer all of your questions, unfortunately, in our DMs, but if you get in the Discord, man, you're 100% have our attention. But other than that, for him, he's Dylan. For me, I'm Mike. See you next week.